Look at that photo. That's a great photo. Welcome, everybody, to the Moon Scarab channel. My name is Ramon, and welcome to another episode of In Orbit With, a show in which we chat with people from the divination community about life, divination, and more. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're watching on replay, thank you very much for tuning in. And to everybody watching us live, thank you for joining us today as we chat to get to know a little bit more about the ever mysterious, the ever intriguing Tom from Early Ritual Channel. Hello, Tom.
Hey Ramon, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
It was about time that we have you here, right? This show was supposed to happen 2 months ago. Um, it's actually the last time I was live was with Miss Hershey, and I had a little pause because of work. But today was a great day to chat with you, and the universe came together for this to
Worked
happen.
out.
So I'm very excited to have you here today.
Last minute
And
scramble and we got there.
yes, and those are the best ones, right? The unplanned ones. And we have a lot of people here who came to visit you. So far, 17 people. And we have the awesome Ange from Roots and Waves. Hello, Ange. Thank you for being here. We have Sanja. Hello, Sanja. We have Nancy from A Crone's Intuition. Thank you, Nancy, for being here. We have the awesome Heather. Of course, we had to have Heather, right? Hello, Heather. You're part of this group. Actually, I was thinking today it would have been cool if I we did like a dual interview, like Heather and I interviewing you.
Oh boy.
Maybe in a future show, like a double feature. We have Lexi here. Hello, Lexi. Thank you for being here. We have this individual who we know who he is.
Gem
Moira. Hello, Moira. Thank you for stopping by. We had the beautiful Amanda from Tropical Empress and Spirit. Hello, Amanda. Great to have you here. We have Madame Maru from
Hey Mario.
Madame Maru House of Cards. And we had the awesome Hershey, the Shadow Reader. Hello, Hershey. Great to see you here. Let's see, am I missing anyone else? Everybody's making comments. Everybody's very excited to have you here. So, as I mentioned, we have today Tom. And Tom, I met you through Heather.
Yeah.
And, there was some of the other shows that I used to see you at. And I was always intrigued by you. Um, Wait a
Okay.
second.
It's either good or
Um, yeah, no, no, no. It's interesting because I always thought of you, and I still think of you. Like this really cool, intelligent guy with a different perspective on life, a beautiful aura and energy. But at the same time, you have like this energy that's intriguing to me. It's like this combination of like this scary biker guy who's gonna beat you up with chain, and at the same combined with this big teddy bear that you want to hug,
I'll hug you after. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So and I was always intrigued at that. Then getting to know you through the shows, and your thoughts on life, I was much more interested in chatting with you, and I had the opportunity on a couple of shows to share
Mhm.
with you on different topics. One of them doing live readings, and I love the way you read. You have a
Oh, thank
unique
you.
take on the cards, unique energy, and it really resonated with not only with the person you were talking to. A lot of them I took for myself, and that says a lot about your connection with the cards. I know you don't. Well, you're gonna elaborate a little bit more on it, but you see tarot in a different perspective, and it's something that we will explore during our combinations. But
Yeah.
first, I want you to tell us who is Tom. What do you do in YouTube? Tell us about your channel. What does your
Oh
channel
boy.
bring? Everything you want to share as
Well,
an
right now
introduction.
my channel brings an update every 3 or 4 months because I'm really bad at finishing things. Um, but I'm promise I'm going to be better. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I it's such a hard question to define myself. Like, I am somebody who has a lot of different ideas about my practice and the way I view divination as in total. Um, it's something I kind of I move around a lot in things, and that's part of how I also built my belief system, the paradigm that I work within. But it's and that's always been the case, honestly, from a very early age when I first kind of got into all this. I've always been dabbling here and there and jumping into different belief systems and trying things out. And I've never like 100% committed to any group or system.
Hmm.
I like to I like to I like to learn a lot of things, so that's part of it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
spent a
I
long
mean,
time really inactive in like the magical sense, but um, where I would consider myself more of an armchair magician for a long time. In the middle of my, probably my like 20s and some of my 30s, but uh, you know, I'm trying to be a much more productive occult person now.
hmm
So
and and all that, there is a sense of commitment and consistency,
yeah.
and this is to yourself, to be able to explore different things, not attaching yourself to one particular way or system, but exploring different things to what resonates with you.
Hmm.
Does that sound accurate? So your
Yeah.
channel is Early Ritual,
Early ritual.
and yeah, and I recommend everybody to follow it. You're very active in other channels.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but you always bring that same positive and beautiful energy. So tell us about you. Your upbringing, anything that you want to share
Yeah.
with
Sure.
us about your spirituality, how what type of spiritual foundation, if any, you
Yeah.
was part of your upbringing.
So, I mean, I grew up in a fairly traditional, American, Irish American type family. You know, Catholic, but not really. Not
Hmm.
practicing. Except for the few things like but I've never made like communion or anything like that. Like
Culturally Catholic,
culturally,
not
yeah,
not spiritually.
not
Hmm.
really practicing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, maybe the occasional Easter or Christmas, but even that's like very,
Hmm.
you know, very not the case. But so nothing special. But I got into I there's a couple of things that happened in my life I think that probably have driven me towards this path more. But like I don't know. Like I can't point to one thing, but I was also like I was a little metalhead when I was a little kid, like really young. I was really into metal, heavy metal music and stuff. And
Hmm.
you know, and then growing up in the like early '80s and stuff, like I was born in the '70s and I grew up in the early '80s as like a young kid, and I was listening to a lot of metal, so there's always that like mystical element to like Iron Maiden and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was always something that intrigued me. I've always like really like liked movies like The Gate and stuff like that, like horror movies that kind of led to um like occult themes and things like that. So it was just always something that was kind of like into it, like I was into. I was really into horror movies and stuff. So as a young person, I really realized very early on that I was definitely leaning more atheist than anything. I've kind of, as I've grown more, I've probably went more. I'm like more accepting of an agnostic. Because I don't know enough to say no definitively. There's nothing, but I'm pretty much, you know,
Hmm.
hedging my
There
bets that
might
there's not.
be,
There
yeah,
maybe, but
there might
I don't
be,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, I also feel like, as long as I live my life the right way, that I, you know, feel is the right way. If that's not good enough for somebody or something, then you know what? That's not my problem. That's a
Hmm.
them problem. So, but yeah, no, I dabbled in a lot of different things. Definitely, you know, went down the Wicca route for a little bit. Went down the, you know, like left hand path stuff for a while. LaVeyan Satanism stuff like that. Just like dabbled, read a lot, and but
Let's
nothing.
let's pause. Let's pause there a
Yeah,
little bit. What is the left hand path for those who
like
don't
just
know?
like Satanism and stuff like that, LaVeyan Satanism, really, and anti-LaVey. But which is really more about like you as being the God form. That you're doing everything for you, and you're the important factor there. And it's fine. It's whatever. It's a little, it's childish at times. It's it is what it is. It's reactionary, I think, more than anything. But nothing ever serious. And then I decided early on, I kind of decided that I was like, I should just make my own system, like, and I was really young and I was reading, this is probably when I was like around 11 or 12, maybe. And I started reading some books on like quantum mechanics and chaos theory, and like stumbled upon some Carl Jung, and like synchronicity and stuff. And I just kind of started building my belief around that. And then I found authors, like Robert Anton Wilson, and like some of Timothy Leary's stuff, like the Eighth Circuit mind stuff. And it kind of just really started to understand that like reality is kind of what you make it. Um, and that's really what magic is. Like you're affecting your reality with the intent that you are putting forth on it. So I was just kind of like, it makes sense that you whatever you want to use to get there, you can get there with, like all these systems work in their own ways, you know. Um and then at some point around that time, probably in the early, I would say like 90, 91 ish, I discovered chaos magic, which is a very similar idea to what I was already kind of thinking. And I got really into that for a long time. I mean, for probably the next 20 years, I probably, if anybody would have asked, I would have considered myself a chaos magician first and foremost. I don't
Hmm.
really necessarily anymore, um, but I still like a lot of the ideas around the system that's there.
How do you define chaos magic for people who don't know?
uh, I always say if you ask 5 different chaos magicians, you're going to get 8 different answers.
Hmm.
But to me, it's about being able to work within a system. You can be like, as a whole, you're kind of like agnostic to a system, but you can jump into, different ways of thinking. So you can, if you go, okay, I wanna really get into, Buddhism, or, whatever. You really go in there and you believe it. You follow it. You make yourself think it. Um, and you learn from that, and you use those systems to do what you need to do. Um, and then switch to a different system. Now, first and foremost, the big thing for me about chaos magic, it was about results. It's always results oriented. Like, so if you are
Is
doing
that the
work,
goal? That is the
yeah,
goal.
to figure out what's working for you.
Uh huh.
So like, if you're trying to do something and you're having an intention, and you're sending that intention, whether it's through sigil magic or any other kind of ritual or working. You do it. You record your results. I mean, you record your what you did, and then you record the results, and you track that, and you see what's working for you, and what's and then you can build that system from that. You know, so it's an extremely loose view on chaos magic. Somebody else will define it way differently than I would. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of different books out there on it, and a lot of different great thinkers on it. That's why I don't necessarily consider myself a chaos magician anymore. Plus, I think it's got a weird connotation with it, just in the name. So, you know,
Mm.
it,
Was
it
there,
rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
yeah, was there any significant pivotal experience during the time you were practicing chaos magic that maybe made you question or redefine your beliefs in spirituality or existence?
I don't think there was anything. I mean, I think I learned. It's a weird question to answer because I feel like I I look at it as everything is a learning experience. So
Hmm.
everything should, to some extent, alter your views if you're growing in some way. Um, it might be a very small or it might be significant. Um, I'm not one that particularly works with deities. Um,
Why?
and for a long time, I didn't really believe in the idea of them as anything more than an internal, like an archetype. You know, Uh,
Hmm.
I tend to take a very psychological view to a lot of spiritual ideas, in the sense that, like, I think a lot of stuff is archetypal. That's why there's so many different systems and everything. But there's a lot of, I don't want to say similarities, but there's a lot of overlapping ideas.
Hmm.
But it's all part of the human experience, and we all share a mind, like the idea of like consciousness and the mind. And I think like archetypes are from that, like, and I think that's from the past. You have your archetypes of like explaining why certain things are happening around you that you can't explain. And then I think, and even further now, it's still some aspects of that. um Probably not explaining that very well, but uh you know it's just an idea that I've always had. And then now, what I will always say, and like a lot of people get mad at me because I'll say things like, I'll be very cryptic in some of the things that I'll say, in a sense that I'll be like, well, I don't necessarily believe in that, but that doesn't matter. Belief is subjective, I would say, to some extent. And if you need to believe something to make it happen, then you believe it. And then, you know, if you don't need to, you don't need to. But to me, deities are real in the sense that they believe that if you believe in it, it will be real to you.
Hmm.
I don't
So,
where I have
mhm.
question is in that objective space of reality, of like how much of it's shared. And that's where I have questions. And I'm not saying I have answers at all. But that's where I question it. So I'm a little bit more open to it now. But I have done in the past, I have done some workings with like, like with like Pan and stuff, like that. That like they were very real events happened you know, in my experience. So I'm still not saying that that's not just an external manifestation of something from within, but there was an external.
How do you reconcile the fact that you don't believe in deities and you worked with one, or and you saw something that you define as a real experience to you?
Because you're you're reality is like what you create.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's outside influences. There's, obviously there's a lot of factors here, and I'm not saying it's just like a one, a bubble, but and that's where I'm saying like I have questions about the objective part of reality, where we're the shared part. Um, to me, it could be a manifestation of something from within. Did it
Mm-hmm.
really happen? Happened. It really happened for me, you know. Uh, but that's all that matters ultimately. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if it happened for somebody else, for me, but it happened for me. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it matters. If that makes sense, I don't know if that does, but
Somewhat,
it's
somewhat, because
convoluted. I really need to write this all down at some point, and then I'll change my mind. So
somewhat, because still that is the experience of people who believe in a divinity.
yeah, yeah,
It's the results or the outcome. It's so you're manifesting through possibly faith, your connection with a divine entity, something that you want to happen, right? And
yeah,
it's meaningful to you.
hmm
It's you made it it's real because you made it happen either through the agency of faith, your
hmm
connection with the divine, and it's something that is real to you. Because if I would explain, let's say, a miracle that I had with Santa Muerte, for example,
yeah,
to you it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make
hmm
sense to a lot of other people, but to me, the details and the significance not only of the visual of the outcome, but also the process of the spiritual process of
yeah.
me manifesting it through faith, it's unique to my experience.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's what's important is that we all have our unique experiences, and I
mhm,
think it's important for us to share them at times. I don't think we need to share everything, but I think
right.
it's helpful to share because I feel like other people hearing that is helpful because I think there's a lot of closed systems by design, and I don't know. I'm a big fan. I've always when I was younger, a key like a catchphrase of or whatever that I had was always like demystify like the magical process. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to break it down and kind of make it understandable and make it more of a scientific process than
Mm-hmm.
a mystical one, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I, you know, the
The,
ceremonial magician in me loves the the mystique as well though. So,
mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know.
definitely. I had a spiritual upbringing in the
Mhm,
Christian faith, and after I parted ways with the church, I didn't want anything to do with spirituality. And if you were asked me 30 years ago, if you would have said that I would be at this point in my life in which I have connection with spiritual beings,
mhm,
tarot and everything, I wouldn't have believed it, because I completely, separated the two things. And
yeah,
still in my mind, I don't jump into the mystical process of things. I do have, what I consider my spiritual guides and etc., but I always take everything from the logical perspective before going into the spiritual one. I try to like discard first whatever logical or rational explanation there is to things before jumping into that process.
yeah.
I'm just intrigued that since you have like a sense of spirituality, your own system of beliefs, and going back into the divine figures, is it the embodiment of these forces that you don't connect with? Is it the idea of the framework of things, like X divinity or X system, that doesn't resonate with you? You like more the fluidity of these things.
I like the fluidity. I feel like dogma in any sense is an enemy.
Mhm.
So that's always something that I don't like. I've I've come more open to the idea of working with deities. Like I've had some recent like I'm really kind of interested right now in some of the Egyptian pantheon and stuff. Like I'm um, dipping my toes back into the Thelema world a little bit with
Mhm.
Crowley and stuff, but a little bit of more offshoot from that. But eh, so I'm kind of like, but where I kind of stop is that I don't know how much of it is it, the question that I have, and I keep saying this, and I'm sorry I keep repeating myself, but like I'm not sure how much of it's external.
Mhm.
Ultimately, that doesn't really
Yeah.
matter, but like
Mhm.
it
It
matters when
does.
having conversations with people. So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
because some people need to understand that, and it is what it is. But like at the same time, I don't know. I mean, it's also I change my mind.
Mhm.
Sometimes
I
I'm
mean,
like, yeah,
it's
you know what? Maybe they are. Maybe there is like something that's external
mhm.
that is like that source or whatever. But for that particular being, um, is it a deity? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what her definition is. But um, I still think it's a large part of it is still the internal, connection that you
Mhm.
have, whether that's just with your subconscious or not. I don't know.
Yeah. It's energies around us, a lot of it is influenced by the external, right? There's no,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's the energies that are around us, my decisions are influenced by the previous decisions of other people around,
yeah,
right?
and your
And
decisions are influencing my decisions in one way or
mhm.
another too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just that's
So,
just the nature of existing at the same
mhm.
time or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. It's a much bigger discussion, and
Mhm.
like I mean, there's volumes and
We need
volumes
a
and
we
volumes
need a
written on
dedicated show for that.
it. Well, yeah, probably. Yeah.
But looking back, what advice would you give to your younger self about navigating through personal belief systems and questioning traditions?
I would tell myself to try to build like my recommendation to my younger self would really be to build more of a routine around um these traditions, like study them
Mhm.
better and deeper. Because I feel like now I feel like, especially when I was young, because I was really young when I was doing a lot of this. I was in my early mid teens and stuff. And then into my 20s, but I should have stayed with things longer to learn more, and that's me being selfish just to learn more. But because I feel like I'm looking back at things now, like I'm revisiting a lot of like Aleister Crowley's work now. And granted, it's I'm almost 50 compared to when I was 12. It's a very different point in my life, and I'm just understanding things very differently. Even to the extent of cards. Like I started reading cards with the Thoth deck. Um, you know, the first deck I ever bought was a greenie, a Thoth greenie, back in like 89 or 90, and that was my first
Oh.
deck, and I still have it, and that was the only deck I had for a while. But honestly, like I look back at now and I'm like, I wasn't really reading well with it at all. I really didn't feel like I was. Um, I have a I don't even want to say it's a better appreciation, but I have a different appreciation of it now when I'm reading
Mhm.
from Thoth. And it's so funny because I don't remember who. I don't know if it was Nancy or might have been Jane. Somebody had asked me once about on like one of the shows, like if I ever read Thoth, and I realized I don't read it for. generally for anybody else but myself. I don't read it on any of the shows that I do with like Heather or anybody, or when I'm doing readings publicly. I always tend to keep that to myself, and I guess that's probably because of that history that I have with it. But
Mm-hmm. And you still have that deck.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it's
I imagine I mean, especially if you use it for personal reasons. So, I
mhm.
mean, it's in your personal practice. So it's pretty, I don't know if pure is the the right word, but it's an energy that it's embedded with just you,
Yeah,
different stages of your life of you,
hmm,
right?
yeah, yeah,
S-
yeah. And I mean, this has been with me my whole magical life. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So that's like
That's
I would
fascinating.
never get rid of that deck. It's
Uh-huh.
The
It's
deck
your
is in
one
great
deck.
condition too. It's
It's
just
your
the
soul deck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm not one to use
Mm-hmm.
that word, but yeah, yes.
Pretty much. So we were looking at the past. Let's use your imagination. And what do you think your future self would say to you about the current life stage that you are right now, spiritually, of course?
Um, I feel like I'm in a sense of a reawakening, to some extent for myself over the last few years. I've started down some new paths, so I think hopefully my future self would be looking back and saying, now you're sticking to, like you're doing the things that you would have told your younger self to do. That you're sticking with things better and trying to be. I'm still not a super consistent person, but that's part of just the way my neurons, my synapses fire. So, you know, I jump around a lot in my head on things. So, and
Mm-hmm.
I get not bored of things, but I'm not very good with habits.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you get
So
a different appreciation on things as you get older. And
yeah,
that's something I noticed over the years. Like, I find everybody like beautiful. I don't know. I mean, just giving you like a superficial
hmm,
example. I always find something beautiful in everybody when I see them, and it's a
I'm
different take and appreciation that you get
yeah,
as you get older.
I'm definitely more open-minded and forgiving of people's beliefs and stuff than I probably was when I was younger. I'll say
Mm-hmm.
that. I can appreciate that more, because I think I'm looking at it from a different perspective. But yeah, I can agree.
Mm-hmm.
I can agree with the sentiment that you're saying. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, how do you think modern technology and AI and social media has reshaped how people explore spirituality and the occult?
Ooh. I think it's great because you know, uh, you're someone also the times before the internet. You remember how hard it was to find new things at times.
I know
You had to like
we're around the same age, so.
yeah, and we had to like you had to track down like, oh, I really like this book from this publisher, so you have to track down everything that this publisher is putting out, and that's
Mm-hmm.
easier said than done. You know, I was also very lucky that I was very
Libraries.
much into music that was very much into the magic and the occult. Like I was a huge fan of bands like Psychic TV and Coil. Um, this whole the kind of stuff that kind of grew out of like the early industrial scene and post punk world. Current 93 and things like that that were just kind of like very magically oriented. So they would have a lot of themes and stuff in their albums, like like Psychic TV would often would reference Austin Osman Spare and people like that who um, somebody I greatly admire his artwork and just his magical practice as well. That of what I know of it, and so there was a great way to explore things that way, and it would lead you down paths. Now, like you're saying, with technology and things like that, that's so much easier to do. And in some ways, that's great. I find like the fact that you can mention something and I go, oh, and 10 seconds later, I'm talking to ChatGPT about it and, getting all the answers. And that's something that's really awesome. But at the same time, it's kind of bad because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And then you're also dealing with, um, you're going by what people are putting out there. And I think there's
Mm-hmm.
a expectation that like, oh, this is on a website. This is somebody who knows what they're
And so
talking
it's
about.
true.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily the case. Um, so there's a lot of bad information, and I think we're at the stage in our human evolution where we're learning that we need to start being a little bit better about
Mm-hmm.
selecting our sources and having some critical thinking skills applied to things. I think we still have to learn that lesson, but we're starting to, hopefully.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I remember a teacher who said once, not every book that is published
Mm,
is truth.
yeah,
you know and that like blew my mind. I don't know, I was like maybe 8 or 9 years old, because I took by granted, of course, at my tender age of 8, that if it's published in a book, it's true.
you would think there's some
There is
validity
a
there, but
exactly. But
yeah,
and that's kind of similar to the internet nowadays. We have access to data now. Is it information, misinformation?
yeah,
It's it could be a matter of perspective at the same time, but
yeah,
there's also intention with misinformation, with
yes.
different purposes.
Oh, 100%.
um
And yeah, and it
yeah.
makes it a lot easier for people to do that, have a malicious intent.
Hmm.
Um, and it sucks, but I think it's always going to be there now, and we need to, as a species, understand it and learn and just grow,
You
and we'll get there.
practice. Hmm. So you practice the occult, correct? Or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
delve
I would
what
consider
how
myself
do you
an occultist. Yeah, yeah.
how do you define occultism?
I
What
mean,
ramifications or what disciplines into the occult do you connect with, if you want to share
the
with us?
cult just means hidden knowledge, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, I'm honestly really into like a lot of different things, a lot of as far as like systems. I mean, again, I really like a lot of like stuff that grew out of like the Golden Dawn, primarily Western occultism. I'm trying to open up a little bit more to some other outside stuff, but a lot of today's magical systems or anything like that are based around a lot of what came out of the Golden Dawn, really.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Yeah, I mean, all the
Mm-hmm.
tarot decks that you're buying, they're all stem from there some way or the other, for the most part. um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm all over the place, honestly, with like things because there's I like to learn a lot of things. I like to know a lot of things, because I think it's just helpful to know all different systems and to be able to talk on them to some extent, to at least be able to converse with other people that do practice certain things. So I'm just kind of all over the place, honestly. I don't know. There's nothing I would nail down specifically. I mean, I'm very much into Crowley. I'm very much into, looking into. I'm taking a much more serious look now, into like the work of Kenneth Grant and things like that that are kind of like an offshoot of, um, the OTO, which was, Thelema, uh, Crowley's religion. So there's just I'm into like some of the mott stuff that's out there right now. That's something that I've just recently kind of got into in the last couple months. That I'm really diving into, and yeah, I don't know. There's
Interesting. Which divination tools do you use?
tarot primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Do a lot of bibliomancy, or used to do a lot of bibliomancy, I'll say. Um, I do some pendulum work, but to me, it's very much a yes no type of thing. I don't really go too deep into it, but I don't do it often. I
Mm-hmm.
also I should back up slightly because these are divination tools that I use. I don't necessarily believe it to be divination in the
Mm-hmm.
traditional sense of what divination means. I
We
don't
were
think I'm
going into that,
divining it
but
from something, but yeah. And I don't know if
we
it's
were going into
particular.
that, but since you brought it up, so these are tools for exploration, divination tools, whichever
Mhm.
way
Yeah,
you want to call it. In your case, how do you visualize or how do you connect with these tools, and how do you interpret them? Like, what do you use as a foundation to connect
yeah.
with them?
I to me, so the primary tools that I use definitely are cards at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at cards. I like to use cards to tell me a different perspective than I probably would have thought of. I mean, that's really what I look at it is when I'm laying out cards for myself. I'm looking out at the spread I'm using, the relationship those cards have with each other, and all the steps between that of that conversation that they're really having with each other. And I take that into consideration, and to me, it's about looking especially when I primarily read for myself. Most times, I'm trying to be more uh, open about reading for other people.
It's a different process.
It's a very different process, and it's weird for me.
The energy is different, and yeah,
I
it's
generally
totally
don't.
different.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what it is necessarily about it that like because to me it's something I feel like I read for myself very well. I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I don't feel like I lie to myself when I'm reading for myself. I think I'm very good at you know checking my bias on things like that. Or at least if I feel like I am, I can check. I can note it. And make adjustments. Um, I am more concerned about that. And like I think we talked about this briefly with the on the ethics panel the other day. But when I read for other people, I try to be cautious of the way I'm saying what I'm seeing sometimes, and I try to. That's what I get nervous about because if I don't know who I'm reading for, like and it's one thing for me to do a reading for somebody that I know, and I know what they can take, what they can't take, and
Mm-hmm.
I can how serious they'll take it or not. If I'm reading for somebody else that I don't know, like I don't know how serious they're going to be with taking the information that I'm seeing in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's something that worries me. Like, are they going to be? Well, this guy said this, so this is it. This is what it is, and I don't want somebody to take it from that because to me, it's something that's happening at that point in time. It's perspective that I'm giving of a situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what the situation is. It means like this is how I'm seeing that you should be looking at it potentially
Mm-hmm.
on your own.
I
So
think
I think
it's
it's something to take homework for you, and I don't.
yeah.
That's the thing that worries me about it a little bit.
I mean, I think it's a two-sided situation because it's on one side you're mentioning how the person is going to interpret it, but on the other side, it's how are you interpreting or putting
Yeah,
into words things. So because I understand what you're saying when you mentioned that you read very good for yourself or you read well for yourself,
yeah,
because a lot of times, and this is my experience too, when I'm laying out the cards, I don't have to utter words. You know, I see the cards, I understand the message, the symbols, like I see it like right there. But then when you're in the process of reading for someone, how do you translate sometimes into words these feelings, these energies,
Yeah,
right? So it's the process of trying to do justice through words of these symbols and things that you're seeing, the energy that you're picking up. And on
100%.
the other hand, is the person receptive and understanding the message that you're trying to convey? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
100%. Yeah, no, and I get what you're saying, and it's true because yeah, I mean, and there's been cases where like I've done readings for people because I'll do sometimes readings on Discord, like different Discords that I'm on, just to kind of practice. I'll do quick readings for people, and I'll read. You know, obviously I pop on people's lives. I don't really do lives on my channel yet for some reason. Hopefully, I'll do more. That's or
We'll
do
get you
some.
there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just not comfortable reading on camera really yet. I have to get more comfortable. And I
Hmm.
know everybody's gonna be like, "Oh no, you're fine." But you know, it's in my head, and I know that. But yeah, I'll something will be showing in the cards that I'm like to me it doesn't necessarily make sense, and I don't know how to say convey what I'm seeing, but I'll say it, and usually it does make sense to whoever I'm talking to. You know, like, and I there's been times like where I've taken it offline into like a more like private thing to be like, I'm not sure what this means and da, 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 but
Hmm.
um, you know, I just feel like that's um it's interesting. It's something, and that's the thing that makes me question a little bit of what I'm saying about you know what it is that we're doing when we're reading cards because like I don't know the answer to that, but it's it's something that I wonder about, you know, how
Mm.
much of it's psychological, how much of it is internal versus external, how much of it is like collective unconscious, how much of it is anything else. You know, I don't know.
Okay. So, have you ever uh, had a reading or pulled a card that profoundly impacted your way of thinking or challenged your agnostic perspective?
A card, no. What did I think of? I mean, I've definitely had cards challenge other perspectives of mine, but not really about that. I would say no.
Mm. How would you explain to some tarot from your point of view as an agnostic to someone who is curious or skeptical?
I mean, I would explain it the same way I kind of already talked about, in the sense that to me, it's a tool, primarily a psychological tool,
Mm-hmm.
to give yourself a different perspective to look at something, um, to understand the symbology of what you're seeing. Because you know, you could do three readings for somebody for three different people. And you had the same cards show up for each one of those people. You're going to interpret those cards differently for each one of those sessions. You know,
Mm.
because there's different aspects to the querent. There's different aspects to the question that's being asked, and I think you're putting different intentions into the reading yourself. So it's that's one of the things that I find so amazing about cards is that the symbology of really the symbology that's there in some really good decks is like it's just deep, and you can look at a card and every time see something new, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I really like about it. And it's all based on what you're going through, and the just the energy of the questions and things. It's great.
Okay.
That's what's
Do
magical.
besides Okay, you refer to cards. Do you do other forms of use other systems other than tarot, like Lenormand, playing cards,
Um,
Kipper,
so I'm
etc.
primarily I read for people with RWS, sometimes like some Oracle clarifiers and stuff like that. Or, occasionally if I really like an Oracle deck, I'll just read with that, like
Hmm.
the System Oracle from Daniel Martin Diaz. I love that deck. I'll just read straight Oracle sometimes, but primarily it's RWS or Thoth. But I do like TDM as well. I'll read some Marseille.
Hmm.
Um, I have a few Lenormand decks. I've never really taken that deep dive. I don't know if I want to really.
Choose your words carefully. I
I
love Lenormand. After
there's
Tarot, Lenormand.
yeah, there's aspects of it that I really like, and I like the way people talk about it in the sense that it's it just tells you like it is. I really
Hmm.
like that. But it also just seems like, I don't know. I look at the grand tableau and I'm just like, it's just too much,
No, it's not as difficult as it. I hear this all the time. The Grand Tableau is not difficult at all
Yeah,
because I mean it actually it's a beautiful configuration, right? Because you're overlaying a card on top of the same concept from another card and getting a rich meaning. What a lot of people get overwhelmed is thinking that you have to read all 36
yeah,
cards combined, like 36 and 3672
hmm,
different combinations. And no, that's not how it works. There's people who read just the
yeah,
corners or read a line, or you find your what you identify as your significator, and whatever's on top might be the future, the past. I mean, there's so many ways to read it and resonate whichever way resonates with you. Do I do the Grand Tableau? Usually I don't,
yeah,
but it's on specific things that I want to inquire about or deeper questions, I do I do use it.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
no,
it's
it's not
something
as
I
complex.
probably will learn over time. It's just I have a couple of decks, but nothing that I don't know. I've never really resonated with them, so I'm just kind of whatever. I do have like a somewhat adjacent the divine gypsy mother deck, which is like
Hmm.
a more of a Sibylla type card deck. But
Yeah.
that's
What's it
something I do
called?
want to deep dive. The divine gypsy mother.
Huh.
It's put out by Scarlet Imprint. I forgot who's the. It's that artist who does a lot of tarot or did a lot of tarot. I don't know if he still is doing them, but
Hmm.
I forgot. Yeah, whatever. It's a really nice deck.
Yeah. I'm gonna
But
look into it. I like the Sibyllas. I do La Vera Sibilla, which is
mhm,
Italian, and Sibylle de Salons, which is
yeah,
French. But there's a lot of them out there.
yeah. This is yeah, I forgot. It's based on a specific version of Sibylla. I want to say out of Germany. It's been a while since I looked at the book, so I can't really. I don't want to speak to it because I don't really know enough
Okay.
about it. But yeah, that's a deck that I'm kind of interested in um, learning because I really like the cards, but and I'm interested in that system. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah. I mean, I'll play around some oracles, like I said, but not. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah. I mean, Lenormand is, no, it's something I'm interested in, but in time, in time. I got my hands full
Is
already.
is there any artistic style that resonates more with you? Some
In
people like
tarot, or
medieval. Yeah, some people like medieval themes, some people like Victorian, some futuristic. What do you like? Or everything?
tough question. It's weird because in some decks I really do like modern takes on things, but then in other decks I hate when they do a modern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I also get bored with traditionalism. Like, it's very funny for me when I first got into tarot. Like, why I went with the Thoth is because I hated the RWS, hated it. I thought it was such an antiquated looking system.
Uh-huh.
The artwork bothered me. I just was not into it. I was, I've grown to appreciate it much more now. And I know you always love when I tell you this, but
I'm very RWS.
I know
love
you
the
are. Yeah,
RWS
but I think
through and
Lady
through.
Frida Harris was a much better artist than Pamela Colton Smith. So uh, I know.
It's
But
a matter of perspective,
it's perspective, and
honestly.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
it's what
it's all
resonates with
perspective.
you.
Yeah, exactly. But I appreciate RWS a lot more now than I did, and I've really grown to really like it. So like the majority of my decks are. It's funny because like I talk about how I was first into Thoth, and for the longest time I would not buy any other Thoth decks. To me, it was the OG, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've come to appreciate new perspectives on it now, like the Maria or the Maria, whatever, however you say Maria, I guess, um,
Mm-hmm.
is really nice. Some of the Emmeline are Thoth adjacent, so there's a lot of decks now that I appreciate more, but still don't like a lot of them.
Okay. Let's jump into a little bit into the different practices of occultism. What's in your opinion, what's the most which occult discipline in your opinion has bridged the most the gap between science and spirituality?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, honestly, I would. I mean, I would make the argument that Aleister Crowley, that was a lot of his. I mean, he had a very modern take, for Victorian era England. Um, he had a modern take on what magic would be in relation to science. So I think a lot of it stems from that. Uh, I I still think there's a lot of religiosity around a lot of the practices in his system that I don't necessarily resonate with, but I don't know. I mean, really, the idea of like what chaos magic and the way that it looks at like like I said, results oriented. So you're looking at like what works, and you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
a pattern of steps to make you want X result, you do a X Y Z to whatever, ABC gets you to X, and can you recreate those each time?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You know,
So, mhm. Do you believe in the possibility of alternate universes? And if so, how might they intersect with our understanding of spirituality and the occult?
okay, so this is something that I've always kind of jumped around with because there was definitely a time where I was thinking that when you were doing a working of a way, you were shifting into that result was you shifting into a reality where that does happen. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that now, but that was definitely more of a thinking that I had. I don't see why there's no reason why there wouldn't be alternative universes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much overlap there is now. I don't know if they're concurrent. I don't know if they're, then you get into time and is everything happening at once? Is it looping? Is it what? I don't know. Yeah, but I think there's a possibility.
Mm. Okay. So if you could ask the universe, if you could ask one question to the universe and receive a clear, undeniable answer, what question would that be?
Oh my god. Ooh. That's tough because, on one hand, I guess I would like to know what happens after this life, if there is anything, or if it's just nothing. But at the same time, I don't know if that would be something worth knowing.
Mm,
Might not be helpful to know that now. Um, but that would be something that I would like to know. Yeah.
mm. Interesting. I think I agree with you.
Because I
It's
think
I
that
would
would help
like.
shape things for other
Mm-hmm.
aspects, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That'll help you. I don't know. That it'll definitely one way or the other put a different perspective on life, knowing that answer, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's.
100%. It would make me rethink certain things or not. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going into spirituality, do you think the search of spirituality is driven more by the need for meaning or the fear of meaningless?
I think that varies person to person.
Mhm.
I think for me, it's more about the search for meaning or knowledge, but I guess you can argue that knowledge is meaning. Um,
Mhm.
but I think for some people it is fear based. I think, you
Mm.
know, unfortunately.
Okay. Mhm.
And I think
So the truth.
originally a lot of people did have, I think a lot of it was about fear of the unknown. And, I mean, you look at like, ancient cultures and stuff, and like their deities were based around, events or whatever that happened or
Mhm.
could happen. So,
Definitely. So if you could strip life to one universal truth, what you interpret as the truth, what do you think would remain? What would that truth be?
oh, wow. Geez.
I told you these questions were designed for you.
I don't know. I don't know if I have the answers for these questions. Um,
No, this
that's
is a matter of perspective. This is
yeah,
what you
yeah.
consider your truth. If you can strip down the whole universe into that one personal truth, which one will that be?
I'm not sure. It's a really hard question. I really don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. I really don't.
Oof,
I'd have to think about that.
oof.
You stumped me.
Wow, that is that's an achievement because you always have an answer for something. I mean, not
Yeah.
knowing is an answer, right? But still,
Yeah, no,
um,
exactly. Well, I mean, that's the truth. You don't know shit is really the answer. But
hmm
yeah, you strip it all away. Like that's really it. It's embrace the idea of not knowing is really
hmm
because I think
okay,
that's a helpful trait.
hmm and connected with that. And I won't ask you any more difficult questions. What's more important, understanding the mysteries of existence or learning how to live fully in its uncertainty?
Ooh, oof! I thought you weren't going to ask any hard questions. That's a hard question. I mean, they're both important. Oh, that's a tough one. I would say, what was the first option?
Um, so the question is, what's more important, understanding the mysteries of existence or learning how to live fully in its uncertainty?
I think understanding, and the reason why is if you're not striving to understand these things, then what are you doing? If you're accepting not knowing, then what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
You're not living to learn. And I think that's really ultimately, there's I can understand the desire to be content, but where's the fun in that?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I agree. Um, Tom, I'm just fascinated by talking with you. It's and having this conversation has really shed more light and more intrigued, I think,
Okay.
than the clarification of what is Tom, who is Tom.
I know it's confused me more too. So I
But
don't
no, 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 but in a good way, in a good way. And there's a lot of things I took from here. What do you have planned for your channel? What are your what's
know.
coming up with your presence in YouTube? Where do you want to go in now in this new year?
This is honestly, that's something I've struggled with ever since I created the channel, or been active on the channel. Because I created the channel years and years and years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but I never actually did anything until probably in the last 2 years or so. Um, I would really like to go more. I really like talking about the things that the new decks I get and things like that. I really do appreciate. Like I like that. I think it's important for people to see these things and to hear it from somebody who whether they like their take on it or not. Like I think it's a good service to have for people. So I continue. I
Mm-hmm.
will continue to do that. But
Totally.
there's been so many decks and stuff that I've gotten that I haven't even talked about on my channel. And I really, there's a lot of books and stuff I really want to focus on as well. But I really do want to shift a little bit more into theory, I think, on things at times. I'm trying to figure out the best way I want to handle doing that. Um, and practice too. Just explaining, but I'm also being somebody who changes their thinking on things, not drastically, but there is,
Like all
there's
of us.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's minor changes in things, or more than minor changes, I think, in my way of thinking sometimes. So I also find it very, I find it hard to put something recorded in out there, in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because to then it feels more real, and then I'm like, but that's something I'm struggling with, that I'm trying to figure out how I want to do. I really do want to do more. I really like the idea of doing interviews and stuff. I used to do many years ago. I had a like a music review site that I ran with a friend of mine, and I've done, I used to do interviews with bands and stuff, and I really liked doing that. This is pre video times, but I was doing
Mm-hmm.
written interviews and stuff. But I really liked
I like
doing
that.
that, so I want to do some more interview type stuff. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
working towards that a little bit. So hopefully you'll see some more of that coming in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It's going back to the the part that you were mentioning about, maybe talking about theory, maybe a live format works best for that.
I think to some extent, yeah, because I really do like I enjoy doing like the panel that we just did with Ange, Roots and Waves.
Mm-hmm. That was
I th-
great.
that
Mm-hmm.
was like, I think that's a important topic that I think is talk about, is about terror ethics. If you're not familiar, I'm sure everybody here is familiar with it to some extent. But I really like the idea, maybe not with 10 people, but I like the idea of doing some kind of like discussion groups. I had some great conversations on Heather's channel with like Jeff about like free will and stuff before, and I would, I love those
Mm-hmm.
kind of um those topics, because yeah, it's I like to wax philosophical about things at times,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it helps talking about things helps me gather my thoughts as best as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that works, when you're talking about a problem too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you uh, process it better verbalizing it. You're listening to yourself, and a lot of times you have your own answers by talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely, we will love to see more live formats in your channel,
Yeah.
interviews,
Yeah.
maybe a combination of pre-recorded video with where you expose, you develop a topic or a theory,
Yeah.
and then you jump into a live format with a panel of people who can just discuss about it. That might work.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's definitely
Mm-hmm.
things that I've been thinking about. I've been making some moves in the background on certain things,
Mm-hmm.
testing some things. So there is some stuff coming down the road, but I don't want
Keep
to.
us posted.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want to speak to it
keep us
yet.
posted. Uh-huh.
And I got
And
some
I'm gonna
collabs
bug
in
you
the
on
works
it.
too. I got some
I'm gonna
collabs.
bug you on it. Tom, where you at with this project? Hey, what are you
That's good.
doing?
That's good.
So it happens.
You got to keep me
All
on my
right.
space. I'll procrastinate if I don't.
Mm, all right. So I'm gonna ask. We're gonna go into this or that, and these are 10 situational questions in
Ugh,
which I just present a question
it's the part I'm
and
dreading.
give you the option of two cards, and you choose which one you want to pick and why. All right. You ready?
Sure.
All right. It's easy as fuck. So question number one: would you rather take a selfie at the edge of a cliff with the fool, or at a wild party with the devil?
Oh, definitely the wild party. That's not even.
Why?
Yeah. Well, one I wouldn't want to fall off the cliff accidentally. Um,
Who said
don't
you're
need
gonna file?
by luck.
Is it the dog that you think is gonna
Gonna push
put
me.
you on edge?
Yep. No, I mean, obviously, there's the aspect of the fool I love, like the idea of the fool, and what it means is great. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's at a wild party. I mean, chains and everything. Let's go. Sounds like a fun time.
Bondage and party. Why not?
Exactly.
All
Why
right.
not?
There's some nudity.
Exactly.
All right.
That
Question
can go
number
wrong.
two. Right. Question number two. Are you a shopaholic or a penny pincher?
Oh, I'm a shopaholic. I mean,
What do you like to shop? Where
I
do you
love to
like to
buy
shop?
books all over the place. I like to buy. I like to buy a lot of different things. Um, I'm really into buying books. I'm really into buying decks. I don't have a huge collection of decks though. I think people will be surprised at how
How
small.
many?
About
How
only
many?
about 70.
Only at about 70. That's
Only
a lot for a lot of people.
a lot for a lot of people, but not a lot for other people. Generally.
Yeah, there's some people who have 500,
Yeah,
600.
exactly.
I
So
know a few, but 70 is a respectable. All you need is one. The one that resonates with you at the moment. That's not true
at
because
the
I keep
moment,
buying.
at the moment, that's the key. No, I mean
Which
they're
what's the
all
last one you bought? What's the last one you bought?
that's arrived. I think it might be the no. This was
Mm,
one of the last ones. Theater Barrow. No. I finally bought Tabula Mundi from Moline. That one I hadn't bought, so I finally bought that.
mm,
So,
interesting.
um,
I have a
that,
question here. I'm gonna pause because it's not a question related to here, but someone mentioned in the chat,
sure.
and this is going back into occultism, and it's
Oh
interesting.
boy.
Uh, has they're inquiring about people's reactions or opinions to your path into occultism. I think there's a lot of stigma when you mention the word
Um,
of the
yeah,
occult. That the concept of the occult is associated with the devil, or I mean, if that's even
that's so played out.
a thing.
But yeah, no. I mean, some people are gonna have problems with it. I guess. Honestly, that's a them problem.
Mm-hmm.
More than it is a me problem. Uh, you know, I understand the concept of symbolism and things like that. So to me, it's not as I mean, it's not as much of a scary thing, but I can understand why people would, depending on where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everybody, obviously, but I feel like I mean I don't know. It's a tough thing because to me, occultism is a very broad and it's all encompassing of a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
things. So and very many of them are not scary in any way, shape, or form. Yes, there's you can get into conversations about other aspects of certain, belief systems and things,
Yeah.
and working with certain types of deities or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't particularly. I'm never going to question what somebody else does in their beliefs. So I would like to hope that nobody else would do the same, but
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
it
definitely.
is what it is.
There's a there's a lot of negative connotations, to the when you hear the word occult,
Yeah.
which is tarot,
Yeah.
Miss Tar
Exactly.
Miss Tar Miss Tarot D.
Well, I mean, she's scary. She's,
All right.
yeah.
Let's go to question number 3.
Okay.
Um, Hi, Miss Tarot D. I saw you were around. That's why I made that joke. Question number 3. Best plot for a horror movie: oh, Judgment Day, or A Nightmare on the Nine of Swords Street.
I would definitely. I mean, who doesn't love a Nightmare on Elm Street movies? I would definitely go with the Nine of Swords. To me, that's much more interesting than yet another Christian-based horror film. So I like
What
the idea of,
what film is that?
well, just any so many, like, when, like, even like something like The Exorcist, or which I love,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's still based
Yeah.
within the framework of Christianity, or
I think
um,
that's why we like it, because it's that unconsciously we're rebelling against those systems that we grew with.
but are we rebelling against them? Because it's always about the end of coming to that moment, So I don't know if they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely rebelling. I think they're more reframing it and reaffirming it in some ways, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a large part of the problem I have with like some of the paranormal stuff too, the paranormal shows and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to escape being within the Abrahamic construct, I guess.
Right.
Um, but I think something like Nightmare on Elm Street, or Nightmare on Nine of Swords Street, um, is I like the idea of that. Sounds to me like more like a psychological horror, and I kind of like that take
Mm-hmm.
than
Yeah.
um,
When I was a teen back in the 80s, I love A Nightmare on Elm Street,
great
because
movies.
it was like very psychological, very surreal. That world of the dreams, it wasn't gory or bloody, but still had
I
that
mean,
horror element.
it's such a base human fear. I mean, this is when you
Mm-hmm.
should be at your most comfortable,
Yeah.
when you're home in your bed asleep, and there's no escaping that horror.
Mm-hmm.
That's horribly frightening, but
Yeah.
so it makes it entertaining too.
Mm-hmm. And since you're a shopaholic and you like this card, I saw online this exact throw. Someone made the exact
That's
same
awesome.
one
That's
with
cool.
every single detail, the flower, the astrological symbols, the
That's
blanket.
awesome.
It's a blanket. It's like perfect.
So
I
you
saw it
ordered it.
online. I didn't, no, because I
I'm
don't know.
impressed.
I mentioned it to you since you're a
You,
shopaholic and you like this card.
you're
I
just
was
trying to
about
get
to.
me back. You're
It's in
trying to get me
my.
back
It's No, that's not true. It's in my cart on several stores. I haven't pressed by now yet, but I'm considering it.
because I made you buy that
It'll be.
RWS set from Tashin.
Oh
So
my god, yeah. Spent a lot of money on that, but I really enjoy it. It's RWS, just another iteration of it. All right, question number 4. The universe hires you for a part-time gig. Which would you take? Babysitting
okay.
or zookeeper?
Oh, zookeeper. I love animals. I would rather do that. Who wants to spend all the time with little kids? And I
You
always
still
hated the
had
sun
to.
card. I hate the RWS sun card. So
Oh yeah, the Sun card. What is it about this card that nobody likes? I mean, I know I've heard other people's opinions,
yeah,
but in
it's
your
just a
case,
weird card. I feel like it just. I think part of the problem the sun has is that it's the moon card is so goddamn good, and then
uh
this
huh.
is just, I don't know. It's just
Too flowery, too
Yeah, it's too
too
flowery,
happy.
too bright. I know it's the sun, but creepy baby. Eh,
Everybody's creepy baby.
yeah,
Everybody says it's the baby, and it is the baby. I think. I don't know if it was without the baby. It might have looked different. It's I don't know. It's also like the position of it.
yeah. It's just I don't
It's
know.
not. It's not natural.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you know, I don't know.
Hmm.
And
I
obviously
love
it's
the
a
expression
seahorse.
of the horse. The horse is like really.
Yeah, like gosh, get this creepy baby off me.
All right. So animals. What is your favorite animal? Which animal do you identify the most with? What's your
I love
spirit animal?
I love
Do you have
cats.
any pets?
Yeah,
Cats?
I have cats. Yeah, yeah. Cats
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, always and forever.
Do you have a cat right now?
I have two. Yeah,
You have two.
yeah. They're not in here with me, but
Mm. What do you feed them? I'm intrigued.
um, just they like garbage food. Honestly, I try to give them like expensive food and they hate it. They won't eat it. So
Really?
they eat a lot of like just your typical canned
Uh-huh.
fancy feast and stuff and some dry food, but not much.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah,
Any
good
other
pet days.
so you like cats as a pet. Do you have any
Yeah.
like a spirit animal? Or is it also the cat?
I wouldn't say I have anything that I necessarily connect with. I'm intrigued by birds as I get older. I find I'm much more into birds than I was.
Mm-hmm. I love
They
birds.
they catch my eye more. And I'm sure that's telling of something. But yeah, I like all animals, really. Honestly, I really do. I'm just an animal person overall. I mean, I like dogs too, but I'm a cat person first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone looked up the blanket and they're saying the more intuitive me
Oh, hey
says
Elizabeth.
the blanket looks so much better than I imagined. Yes, it's a really good interpretation of the blanket. They did a great job. I think everybody's gonna end up buying that blanket tonight. It's really good. What stops me is the energy behind it because it's represented in the card where someone is having it's it's in bed. We don't know if it's waking up or it's going to bed uh, with a hard energy. So
I
that's
agree,
what's.
but the one thing you have to remember about that card is the swords are secured on the wall. They are
Hmm.
they're so
But is that a positive thing? But do we have our thoughts are fixed? Is there a sense of stagnation? It really depends on the interpretation
depends on the interpretation. I would say it
of
depends on
mhm.
what's around it in the reading, but yeah,
You're stuck with that
you're stuck with
angst.
it. Yeah, but I mean, we all are. I mean, it's part of the human condition, you know.
It's part of the cycle because nines are it's right before 10, so it's
Yeah,
the accumulation of effects, and
yeah,
you're right there at that point where a cycle is going to close into
yeah.
it's going
You
into
might not
something
want to
new.
get to that Ten of Swords, but yes,
I mean, painful, but change is necessary.
it is necessary. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Question number 5. You are at a cosmic bar, and the universe sends you a free drink. Which would you choose? A custom made cocktail by the Angel of Temperance or a mystery drink by the Ace of Cups?
Oh, I'd want to go Ace of Cups, but knowing I'd probably, in my old age, probably go with Temperance. But the Ace of Cups is what I really want.
Really? A mystery drink rather than one that you want to
Yeah, why
choose?
not? Live a little. Taste death, live
What do you
life.
like?
You know?
Do you drink?
I do occasionally. I really don't anymore as much as I once did. But I yeah, I'm a if I was going to, I love a good White Russian. I'm a milky drink kind of guy for some reason. I
Really?
love
Well,
White
White
Russian.
Russian. What's a
Yeah,
White Russian?
vodka, Kahlua, and cream.
Ah,
Yeah,
What was your first drink?
The first drink. Well, my first drink was probably just some crappy Budweiser. Um, yeah, my first drink was definitely a can of Bud that my grandfather gave me when I was a little kid, like a real little kid. First drink.
Budweiser was my first one too.
Yeah, first actual
Oh my
drink. I
God.
don't know. Yeah.
I remember I was 16 years old. I started working when I was 16, and I started working at this supermarket. And one day I was at the warehouse in the back. Of course, my parents Christian. I was raised in Christianity, everything.
Hmm.
I've never seen alcohol at home. So I was in the warehouse of the supermarket that I worked at, and I pulled a can and started drinking a beer, a Budweiser,
Hmm.
and I liked it. And I had like two or three, and it was my first drink ever, and I got hammered. My parents picked me up, and they saw that I was laughing, laughing a lot, but they couldn't figure out what was going on.
Oh yeah. No, I started young too. But yeah,
Oh my
no,
God.
yeah. Yeah, I first, to be honest, my first probably drink out somewhere was probably like like a rum and coke, probably. But
Mm,
that would have been when I was young, really young.
yeah.
Used to be able to get into bars when back in the day when they didn't ID.
Yeah, the 80s, the 90s, you could buy
Yeah.
cigarettes and you're
Oh,
underage and you'll go to,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, um, let's move on. Uh,
Oh,
question number 6. You're
oh,
running late. Well,
the
the thing is,
coquito, and I love coquito. Yeah,
yeah, and as you age, your body changes. So I stopped drinking.
yeah.
It stopped being fun, basically.
It still can be
So I
fun, and
don't
I do
drink anymore.
occasionally, but like it's literally I can count on one hand the amount of times I drink in a year, and usually it's
Hmm.
only like 2 or 3 times tops. But
Yeah. All right. Question number 6. You're running late to an important meeting. Would you rather draw the chariot for quick transportation to the meeting or the knight of swords for speedy communication to excuse yourself?
hmm. See, another perfect example of a kind of both, but I would say the chariot probably.
Speedy transportation.
Yeah,
Why?
just to get
I
there
need
on
to know the
time.
why.
Yeah, I guess you
Hmm.
do.
But you're running late.
Running late, but if it's that speedy, you can get there still. Um, you know, you didn't say have to obey the traffic laws. So,
Hmm.
um,
Traffic
yeah,
court.
I think it's still better. I think,
The universe traffic court.
yeah, it's better to be a little bit late than to not show up at all. I'd say. So
Hmm.
that would be my argument.
That's true. I hate being late. I always had this thing. I'd rather not go than being late. But
I'm never late, despite what everybody in this chat would say.
yeah, I think I would choose the Knight of Swords to excuse myself, just to let them know, hey, I'm on my way. But what you
Well, if you're
say
just
makes
saying I'm on
sense.
my way, there's a difference. See, when you said excuse yourself, that sounds like you're not going to show up at all. Then you're just going to
Mm-hmm.
cancel it. So
Yeah.
that's why I would say no. No, if it was like, oh, just say I'm going to be late. Yeah, I would choose that. But
Yeah.
I think it's
Noted.
better to show up than to not show up.
All right. Question number 7. You're hosting a party and the snacks run out. Would you rather draw the Empress for endless abundance or the Magician to conjure more snacks?
I would say, and I'm probably thinking way too hard about this one. Uh, I would rather the Empress, which is I'm shocked that I'm picking that over the Magician, but I'd rather have the abundance there than and to take me away. If I was doing the Magician, I'd have to go and conjure it and do it. So I'd rather be there. hosting.
And you picked up on the spirit of the question because it seems like they're both similar options.
Hmm.
Um, being that it stopped at your snack stop, and you have the option of abundance or bringing more snacks, but there's a theme of continuity in it, and it's something that no one's ever pointed out. And I was waiting for someone to bring it up, and you did. So yeah, it it definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
The
no,
Empress.
I'd rather be involved than not involved. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What does a party at your house will look like? What do you like to serve in parties? If you invite me to a party, it's your birthday, or I don't know, you want to celebrate something, the
You know what?
anniversary of the RWS. What would we see? What the adorbs would be? What?
I'm a real basic bitch. I like, I just like some good finger foods. Honestly, just some good hors d'oeuvres. You know, just order some pizzas and call it a day. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough
You
question.
were conjured at Pizza Hut. No, I hate Pizza Hut. You your
No,
local
definitely not
pizzeria.
pizza. Yeah, I would definitely go. I mean, I'm in New Jersey. I'm right outside New York City. I'm going pizza from a real place.
Uh huh. So finger food is the answer.
Yeah, I think so. Like just like your typical apps and finger food,
Mm-hmm.
but like real
Finger
cheap
food.
shit you
Uh
throw in an
huh.
air fryer. I'm lazy.
Finger food, Russian drinks, and metal music. That's your party.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like I don't really listen to metal anymore, but
And tarot.
yeah, and definitely tarot. Definitely
Sounds like
tarot.
a great party. All right. Question number 8. Your significant other, your sweetie, spills coffee on her favorite shirt before a big date, even though you warned her many times to be careful. Would you rather draw the emperor to command the stain out, or the hierophant to teach a valuable lesson about being more careful?
Oh, I'd go with the emperor. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'd definitely go with the emperor.
You're
Just
not
get rid of that stain. Just will it out. I'm not gonna. Not
subject
gonna
the
yell polite.
humiliation of walking around with a
Exactly.
stain. Do you drink coffee
Oh yes.
a lot? You're drinking coffee right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm very
I'm not.
really
It doesn't affect me the way that it affects other people in that way. Um, Never has. I don't know.
I'm hypersensitive to caffeine. I drink a cup or two in the morning, but after a certain time of the day, I can't drink anything with caffeine. I'll drink sodas really, but I can't drink any because I'll be awake all night. I have sleeping problems, so it's
Yeah.
sometimes I drink a big cup early in the morning, and that lasts me like through the evening. And sometimes at night I can't fall asleep because I had
I'll
that big drink.
I'll
So I
fall
have to
asleep
drink
mid drink.
chamomile tea.
No, I'll fall asleep drinking it. So, like, yeah, it doesn't
Wow.
affect me at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I drink chamomile at night just to relax and go to bed. So I have that combination. But my dad is that way. My dad, he's been drinking coffee since he was a kid,
Yeah.
and he can't go to bed without a cup of coffee. It's crazy to me. That's
Yeah, I love a good cup of coffee at night. It's really, I think it's a good thing. I don't know.
mm,
I understand that like some people just can't do it, but um,
mm-hmm.
yeah, it never bothered me. I do recognize that there's an addiction element to that because, like, if I don't have coffee or like soda or anything like that that has caffeine in it, I get the headaches and everything. So, like, I know that, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely
They're
there,
terrible
but
headaches.
yeah, it doesn't affect me in the sleeping aspect. But I can literally fall asleep anywhere. So
Mm. I mean, your body's used to it already, so it's part of.
yeah, I used to drink a lot of coffee. I don't drink as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
I definitely drink in the morning, and I definitely drink at night. Maybe
Mm,
sometimes during the day too. But yeah.
that's cool. All right. Question number 9. You walk into a glass door in front of a crowd.
Mhm.
Would you rather draw the justice card to sue the door or the world to make it a global meme?
Oh, definitely not the world. I mean, if those are my only options, I'd go justice, I guess, because yeah, I don't want that to be a meme.
Are you a social media person?
I mean, I have an Instagram
Uh
account. Follow me at
huh.
Early Ritual. But yeah, I don't do like Twitter or anything like that. I don't do Facebook really. I don't
Mm-hmm.
do so no, other than YouTube and Instagram, that's it really.
You have an early ritual Instagram account.
Yeah.
What can we find there?
Uh just honestly pictures of things that I buy or do. Nothing too interesting, but
Cat photos?
some cat photos, some synth photos. Actually, I don't know if I have any synth photos on there, but on other ones, I guess. But yeah.
That's awesome. All right, last question. Question number 10. Who really missed the mark? Fashion advice from the lovers
Mm,
or survival skills from the Ten of Swords? Here's that Ten of Swords you were talking about.
there you go.
Who missed the mark?
Who missed the mark? I mean, I guess the argument there would be that, like, if you're going to go literal, I mean, obviously the Ten of Swords missed the mark. The lovers, at least you can make an argument that there's a choice of nothing this. So it's a fashion choice. So
It is a statement
he
in
did not
itself.
survive the Ten of Swords.
Or did he? Maybe he moved to the next phase. We don't know.
I mean, that's a different question. So
It's something that it's a show for itself, which we will have once you have your first live, right?
there you go. There you go.
It was awesome chatting with you.
It was a fun
I
time.
love your energy. I love who you are, and your thoughts. And we want to see more through your channel. It's great that you're participating in others people's lives, but we need that from you.
I know. I need to be more proactive on my own channel. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on it. I am working on it. I have a
Yes,
few
and
things, a few things in the works.
uh-huh. And you're a great reader. We love having you in the community, and everything you say definitely has a great value to us. So thank you for all
Thank you.
you do, your participation, your beautiful energy, and sharing with us who you are. All right. And thank you everybody for being here. We had up to 30 people watching the show, so everybody came to see you to learn more about you. We are at an hour and 40 minutes. So thank you very much for sticking by. And we will see you again at another show of In Orbit With. The description for Tom's channel is below. If you don't follow him, please do. And I will see you in a future show. All right. As always, thank you very much for watching and blessings to all. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.